Welcome to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast. My name is Jerome Lewis. I'm your host for today. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is a podcast where we talk marketing, tech, business, and leadership. We talk these things for real estate agents, real estate investors, and real estate entrepreneurs. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is a podcast that has two purposes. Purpose number one, to educate and inform our audience and listeners. Purpose number two, Jason, to spotlight you, your business, your service, or your product in a way that provides value to you, including market exposure and content creation. With that, we have a very special guest, Jason Friedman, a theater enthusiast turned serial entrepreneur, is deeply passionate about coaching, supporting, and championing fellow entrepreneurs to grow and scale their businesses. He recognized early on that the same principles used in show business to earn standing ovations night after night can be applied to every business, whether online or offline, across various industries and in every corner of the world. By uniquely combining storytelling and psychology, Jason has founded, scaled, and successfully exited 5 businesses in the diverse field, including medical, diagnostics, marketing, and events, automotive, spirits, and digital media software. At present, Jason serves as the CEO of CXFormula, where he collaborates with fast-growing entrepreneurial firms, aiding them in achieving business growth and scalability, thereby providing them with the stability, purpose, and the energy to work more efficiently while living better. He does so through his proprietary Kinetic Customer Formula. Additionally, he holds the position of CEO at Spotlight Brand Services, a marketing and brand management agency that specializes in helping e-commerce businesses excel on platforms like Amazon and other online marketplaces. Throughout his career, Jason's clientele has spanned the spectrum for Fortune 100 companies to solo entrepreneurs operating in a wide range of industries, including retail, such as Foot Locker, Adidas, Nike, hospitality, such as W Hotels, Universal Studios, Disney, and Burger King, financial services, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Fidelity, higher education, Stanford, Yale, Duke, and Harvard universities, and online services, information products like ClickFunnels, Product Launch Formula, X Method Company, and many more. His notable achievements include being named Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year for Business Services in 2009, with his company making the Inc. 5000 list for 3 consecutive years from 2007 through 2009, following a successful high-figure exit from that business. In 2020, Jason's company, CXFormula, secured a place in the Inc. 5000 list once again, ranking 64th out of 5,000 companies for his remarkable close to 5,000% growth, and also secured the top spot in New Jersey with the growth from $0 in 2017 to nearly $9 million in 2020. The following year, in 2021, CXFormula was ranked 3rd in the Inc. magazine New York Metro Regional Competition. Jason, impressive bio. I'm excited that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here too. Thanks, Jerome.
Absolutely. So, Jason, do me a favor and tell us a little bit about your story. That was an impressive bio, and just give us your journey, what you've been through, and how you got to where you got to today.
Yeah, it's I hate when people talk about me like that bio, man. It just sounds like not me. Yeah. So my backstory, real quick, in a nutshell, I was a theater geek. So I did lighting for rock and roll shows like Rush, Run DMC and Public Enemy, Fleetwood Mac. And then I did more legit tours like Man of La Mancha, Les Mis, Jesus Christ Superstar. And when you go through doing these shows, it's all about that audience. It's like knowing how to make your audience have an amazing experience where they forget about all the problems in the world and they just become present and they love the story. They love the journey that they're going on with you. And realizing that kind of accidentally, it's like very Mr. Miyagi, like wax on, wax off. You learn these kind of skills of how do you take people on that journey, on that ride of life. And so after I kind of got tired of doing the night after night theater thing, I started applying that to business and this is back in like 1997, I started my first company where I literally started to take those theatrical principles of storytelling and experience and how do you transform customers in real businesses. And so we started doing that with companies, like I said, you said, big companies in the beginning, and now I only work with entrepreneurs and small businesses, because that's who I love to serve, right? It's like people like you and me. We want the life that we want. We want to be able to do the things we want to do. We want to be able to say yes to the things that we care about, whether it's stay home with our family, be at our kids' school functions, be able to go on that dream vacation, and want to be able to give and create that impact that we want. That's what I'm about, and that's why I love working with entrepreneurs and help them do this.
Thank you. Well, thanks again for being here, Jason. And before we got here, we had like a little bit of a tech issue, but before we got here, you told me that you have like a special gift, and I want you to get the opportunity to share that early. We'll bring it up at the end, but I want you to talk about that right now. So tell the audience about the gift and how they can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Jerome. One of the things, so we're going to talk a little bit, I hope we're going to talk a little bit about customer experience today and why that's more important today than it ever was before. And I have a tactic that is part strategic, part execution. So it's like strategic and tactical that I want to give you. It's an approach that we use in our business. It's an approach that we teach to our high-end clients that go through our coaching program. And if you go to my website right now, you cannot find it. You can't get it. But I want to give you an opportunity to download. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want to pique your curiosity, and I want you to know that it's something that if you pay attention, you read through this PDF, it's not that many pages, it won't take you that long, but it'll blow your mind. Like, I promise you that it'll blow your mind. It'll make you think differently about how you approach things in your business, maybe even how you approach things in life, right, in general. So I want you to go there and grab this. If you go to go.cxformula.com, I'm sorry, I lied to you. It's gift.cxformula.com/remarketing. You will find it. So it's gift.cxformula.com/remarketing. You'll be able to grab this, download the PDF. All I ask is that if you download it, go through it, because I spent a lot of time putting it together. And if you like it, I'd love to hear from you. My email address will be in there someplace. Send me a note. And if you don't like it, I want to hear from you. Tell me why you don't like it. I want to hear about what you think about it, because I am confident that this will help you really multiply things in your business.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And so while you were introducing that and telling us about it, you mentioned customer experience, and I'm excited to talk about that in addition to some other stuff. First question is going to sound elementary, but I think it's important. What is customer experience?
Man, it is a great question. And, most people think about customer experience as like this nice thing. A lot of people think it's about giving someone a gift. It's about doing something that is like over the top. And it's really not. Customer experience actually is not something you do. Customer experience is something that your customers have. The customer experience is the result of all of the things you do or don't do. And so the way I like to think about it, it's the perception that a customer has about their interactions with your business, with your brand, with your business, with your products, with your services, with your home sales, with your marketing. It's with all the things. And so it's really about how you make people feel. Famous poet Maya Angelou said it best. She said, people will never forget what you said, or will always forget what you said. They'll, always forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel, right? And so it's so true. And so I'm sure if you just kind of close your eyes and think for a second, something will pop up to your head about like a really bad experience you've had recently. Why? What happened that made it so bad? Or if you think a little harder, maybe you can come up with a really good one and why that was so amazing, right? And it's about the way you felt. And so if you kind of analyze that and you kind of reverse engineer it, like, how did that person make you feel so good? Well, it probably wasn't by accident. They probably did it with some intention. And when you do that in your business, when you intentionally craft and create this journey, this pathway that people go on, you can make them feel great. And then ultimately you get to what I call the Holy Grail. It's where they rave about your business, they return to buy more stuff, they renew their memberships and their subscriptions in your products and your programs and your services. And more importantly, they recruit other people to come and join you in your business. And that is, like I said, I call that the Holy Grail. That's what we want.
Thank you. And I think you touched on some of this already, but why is, I'll ask you more directly, why is customer experience so important?
Yeah, man, like we spend a lot of money on marketing, right? Like I know if you think about what is the biggest challenge people on their business, right? We were talking about this for a minute before the show. It's marketing, right? Your audience, right? All of you who are listening today, like you're in the real estate business and you want to get more leads. You need more people coming into your business, whether it's to buy and sell a home, it's whatever your angle in your real estate business is. And so what we do is we spend all of our energy on marketing, on bringing people into our funnel, into our sales process, into our pipeline, whatever words you like to use for it. And if the experience, once they say yes and they decide to work with you, whatever that looks like in your business, if that experience is not great, all the time, energy, money that you spent on marketing, it's garbage. It didn't matter. It was a waste. But if you have a great experience, if people are genuinely feel cared for and they are actually getting the results that they signed up to get, what happens then is they feel great and they start to become your own sales force. They start to become the marketing. And then you use their stories, their testimonials, their case studies, the stories of their successes. That becomes the marketing that you use on the front end. That's how you weave it in. And so all of a sudden, most of us start realizing, like, if we make it awesome, it's a self-perpetuating prophecy. It starts to fill the funnel with right fit clients who love you. The people that had the success start helping you fill that funnel. They want to bring more people into your ecosystem. And so we focus more of our energy and more of our budgets, our time, our resources on getting strangers to become customers, and we spend very little of our focus, our budget, our resources on making our customers become super fans. And that's where we have to focus, getting them amazing results and having them feel awesome.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So one of the things, and I had like a prior guest today, and I told him, like, we come in, we become experts in our thing. We become the expert, and then we go out and we like vomit and we tell people all this logical stuff. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. And we tend to forget about the experience. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because when I was reading your bio, there are some things that jumped out to me. And you mentioned like psychology. I want to hear your perspective and I want to hear your take on that, because we come in, we're logical. We're like, this is how you do it. This is how you achieve, right? I'm a real estate agent. You buy a house doing this, and this. But that customer is not necessarily looking at it as logically as we are. They're looking for more of an experience, and it has a lot to do with psychology, emotion, and journey, like you said. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Love to. That's a great analogy, right? So first of all, when someone decides to work with you, they become a customer, whatever that looks like, right? They decide that they're going to list their home with you, or they decide they're going to work with you to buy a home. Let's use that as an example, right? They have an intention. They're actually not committed, right? A commitment comes through that experience, and it comes from building trust and building relationship, right? So if I am selling an online course and I'm trying to teach you about real estate, when I buy it as a customer, I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. I think I want to do this. So I spend the money. I'm probably thinking in the back of my head, oh, I got a 14-day refund guarantee, so I can drop out at any time, right? And if you really look at the stats, most of the time, a very small percentage actually starts. A much larger percentage never even logs into the course, right? They may be just waiting for the refund period to be almost over, and then they're going to ask for a refund, a chronic refunder, or maybe it scratched an itch. They feel like, okay, I was struggling with this. I bought it. Now my itch is solved, and I'll deal with it later. Someday. So it's an intention. It's not a commitment to get that result. You, the entrepreneur, the salesperson, the company, your duty is to help them like really commit to getting that result. They wanted it. You're the leader. You're the expert. You're the guru. Like you were just saying, Jerome, I believe you have a duty to help them. You know the path. You know what's in their way. We call those friction points. There's all these friction points that are in the way that are stopping them from getting success. A lot of them might even be internal, like in their head. It might be self-sabotage. It may be that they've tried other online programs, or they've tried to do this before and they've failed. And you have a better system and you're going to help them. But that's what's stuck in their head, right? The psychology of that is huge. We call these cognitive biases, right? And so in our program, in our Kinetic Customer Formula training program, we really go through how to understand that psychology, because when you do, you can actually help those customers because you can speak to the fears that are going on in their world. You can speak to the obstacles that they have in their way, and you can actually help move them from that intention to that commitment. So it's really important to start understanding that. And there's all sorts of biases, right? And we go into a lot of depth in them. But what a cognitive bias is basically, it's a shortcut for your brain. Our brains don't like to use calories on things that are not important. Our brain tries to find the easiest way, the least amount of energy exerted to do something. So it comes up with these shortcuts, and those are biases. So it forms an opinion of something that happened in the past, and it then tries to apply that opinion in future situations that seem the same, so it doesn't have to analyze it again. And that's what a lot of times is happening with customers that have maybe tried to buy a home. They've worked with tons of agents, but they've never really gotten anywhere. And they're always kicking the tires, and their brain is wired to believe that it's not going to happen right now. And so if you understand that, the journey that you can take them on, you'll start to realize, okay, I have to tell them some stories, and I have to help them overcome that kind of itty bitty shitty committee that's inside their head that's stopping them from taking those actions. And so it's really important. That journey that they go on, that no matter what you do, whether you decide that you're going to design that journey or you're not, they're having one. They're having a journey, whether you do it by design or by default. And so we believe, my whole being is about do it with intent. Let's design and draft and dream up the best journey and choreograph it so that when someone comes into your world, we're helping them make a commitment. Then initially onboarding, that first kind of meeting, that first interaction, once they say yes, you have a duty to bring them into your world, not overwhelm them with logistics and everything that has to happen. We add friction. We get them to say, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? Versus saying, oh my gosh, Jerome, this is the best experience I've ever had. Let's do this. I am so committed to working with you. This is going to be so much fun. You have a choice, and you can make it be the latter of those two in that moment. And one of the other keys, I'll give you another kind of bonus tip right now, is understanding what the importance of what we call time to first value. How do you get somebody a win as quickly as possible from the moment they say yes? The shorter that time is, the better it is. The more that they will know, like, and trust that they made a good decision. And so I want to just define real quick what a win is, right? A win is a perception of improvement, a perception of value received. So if you're trying to help them find a home, that doesn't mean that you're going to find them a home. That means that you're going to find something that would be a great first step that'll leave them feeling confident that you really do know what they're looking for and that they made the right choice. Do that. And then what's the next win? If you map out all the steps along their pathway to success, each of those steps will start to feel like a win to them, and you point it out. And then they're going to have these successive wins. That builds momentum. That builds reciprocity. That builds someone who's like, wow, this is amazing. Before you even get them the success result, they're probably going to start telling their friends how awesome this was. And you're going to start getting referrals even in the middle of the process before they even finish with you, because it's different. Here's the thing about experience, Jerome. It is like your fingerprint. It's what's unique to you, right? Your experience is your fingerprint, the experience you create. And with AI showing up today, and anyone can create new programs, can ask the world to generate all its content, the proliferation of that is changing the way we fundamentally think and act in business. The only thing that is still for sure is that people want to work with people that they like, and they want that relationship, they want that experience. And so for the past 25, 30 years, I've been saying to everybody, experience today is the most important thing you can do. And every time I've said that, each and every year, it's become more and more true. The only place to compete on today's battlefield is through the experience that you create. And if you don't create a great experience, you're not going to be here long. It's just not going to happen.
Absolutely, 100%. And in my understanding, experience is going to be different for different people and different businesses. And that's why I like the roadmap. Like what you're saying, that story of creating that journey is so important. And you're very timely, because just yesterday I was listening to one of my mentors, and he was like, look, I help people invest in real estate. And one of the ultimate goals, or one of the big goals, is you close a deal. And here I am as an expert. I'm like, yeah, you can close a deal. And that's my in my mind, it's like, that's a win. But that's such a large win.
That's huge.
Big win. So I'm like my mentor, he's like, you got to get them like small wins. So could you talk, like you just talked about it, but could you
let's
shed
dig
some
into
light
that a
on
little
what I
more.
just
It's
said?
so important.
Yeah.
It's so important, man. Yeah. So like, think about that. If the win is they close a deal, how many deals are you going to probably lose on the journey to closing a good one? There's got to be, you're going to lose a lot before you get that one, right? Things are going to go wrong. It's going to be hard. There's lots of ups and downs. It's an emotional roller coaster ride, right? Especially if you're not a seasoned investor where you've kind of taken some of the emotion out of it. If it's your first deal, your second deal, or maybe even your 10th deal, and you don't have a lot of dough and you're building, it's brand new. It's like investing in the stock market. Oh my God, buy, sell, buy, sell. You can't operate that way, right? So it's your duty to like figure out what are the little wins. How do they see that they're making progress even if they haven't gotten to that big, unbelievable goal? There's all sorts of ways to figure out what those are. And I think it's really important. Like you said, everyone's journey, everyone's experience like that you craft in your business, that journey is going to be unique to you. And you want it to be. You want it to be. Like, for example, like how many different types of real estate are there out there that you can buy? This is not my area of expertise, but I know there's tons, right? I mean,
Yes.
single
Several.
families, multifamilies, land, houses, townhouses, condos, commercial. I'm just not an expert in this, right? I know there's tons, right? And are you doing it for like investments like short-term rentals, long-term rentals, this, that, blah, 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 multi-tenant, multifamily. You have to figure out where you want to be an expert and where you want to niche down and what your experience is going to be. It's not for everybody. You might only want to work with women who are corporate women who are now retiring and want to do this for them. That's a very specific market. You might only want to work with people that are that have a specific disability, right? Because you can help them in a certain way. You might want to help people, whatever it is. Figure it out, and then the wins are going to be specific to who that avatar is, who that specific customer is, and the specific kind of help that you give them. And so what you want to do, I'll give you another cool hack, right? We call this creating what we call the ideal customer script. So again, a little theater trick. So if I was going to be my customer, I got to step into my customer's shoes and I got to look through their glasses, and I want to say, okay, they just finished working with me and they had a massive success. They bought their first investment property. What exactly would they say if you had to write the script? So they sold it and then they call you up and they talk to you about how freaking amazing it was. What exactly would they say? Maybe something like, Jerome, like I bought your course like 4 years ago and it has been an unbelievable roller coaster ride. Like I bought it, I wasn't sure, I was scared, and I hesitated at first. Like the first 3 years were a blur because I didn't take action. If I could go back and tell my former self, just listen to Jerome, do what he says and stop overthinking it, I would have gotten here 4 years ago. But I did. I didn't stop. You held my hand. You got me there. Thank you, brother. That's amazing. And let me tell you, so what I did was I boom, boom, boom. I was feeling this way. And then this kind of unlocked for me because then I did this and then I did this. And Jerome's course, like module 3, lesson 4, like, oh my God. And then he had that coaching call. Dude, on that coaching call, blah, 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 blah. You go through this whole thing that tells that story. Write that story. Write that story for each of your customers. And then use as many juicy words about how they were feeling, what they were doing, what was in the way, what unlocked them from their perspective. You will have just built yourself a roadmap to how to make your journey 1,000,000 times better because you'll remove the friction points that came out in that, you'll add in other momentum, and you will be able to start to figure out, okay, this person's journey, he said all those things, why? What do I have to make sure happens throughout that journey so that everybody will have this amazing result? And when you do that, man, the wins will start to just show up for you. You'll see where you need to have them have wins. And think of them like the stepping stones on that path across the water to get to the promised land, right? That's where we want to get them to that result. And it just kind of shows up. So right at the end, script the reaction, and then we'll stage the show that gets to that reaction. We call it the ideal customer script. Spend 30 minutes. Go write it. Go write it.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that because I've been through this myself. And the only thing that honestly helped me, I don't say the only thing, but a really important thing that helped me was like getting outside perspective. So I come in, I go back to, oh, I'm an expert. I know everything here, this, and people don't care about that. And I had to get beat up a little bit and say, Jerome, you're not your customer. So I would like to hear your perspective on how
Yeah.
can we be more like psychological, emotional, or more empathetic for our customers? Because like
Yeah.
you might not do that or feel that way, but your customer is a completely different experience. So can you help us understand how we can
Yes.
better step into that customer's shoes?
Dude, these are great. These are great questions. These are really great questions. Thank you for those. And I just want to say to all your people, they are really lucky to have a leader like you that can ask such great questions
Oh
and really
man,
dig into it. That's amazing.
thank
So
you.
listen, here's the thing. First of all, we have this thing that I like to think of the difference between being interesting and being interested. They're different. So being interesting is what you were talking about, the guru. I'm the expert. I know all this. You're sharing all your knowledge. You're putting it all out there, and you're like the dancing bear, right? And I don't mean that in any kind of negative way, but you have all the knowledge. You're the guru, and you need to build authority. But there's a way to build authority without being the person that's so interesting that people. The way to do that, instead of just kind of being that person they have to go look at, is find a way to build the authority, but be interested in them. Show up like you care so much about your customers because you do, right? This is not a faker thing. This is an authenticity thing, but you care so much. Show them, prove it by being interesting, by being interested, by listening to them. Like call your customers, ask them what they're struggling with, have a dialogue. Just because of your customers, like how excited would some of your customers be if you just randomly called them? They bought something from you online, they see you as their coach, but you actually got on the phone and said, hey, I'd love to spend 20 minutes just kind of bullshitting with you and finding out what your biggest struggles are. What's going on for you right now? How can I help you more? What could we be doing? That is an amazing way to do it. The other way is the theater way, right? And so what I like to do when I help people figure out avatar and really understand their customers is we try and do some like method acting, if you will. And so like if I was gonna be Matthew McConaughey and I need to get into character, he does some massive research on who those people are and not just like where do they live, how old are they, how many kids do they have, what their religion is, like where do they shop, what stores do they go to, how do they talk, what language do they use, what keeps them up at night, what do they eat for breakfast, like what are they afraid of, what scares them in their deepest places that they don't like to talk about. Like they really figure out how if I'm going to be that person and act it out in front of a live audience or a filmed audience, how are they going to believe that I'm actually that person? Right? You have to get into that mindset, and it's not easy to do. You have to do it. And so the question that I would ask is, if you were going to play your customer on stage believably, so that even they were like, oh my God, that's me, what would that do? What would they look like? What would they be scared of? What would they be excited about? Why are they really investing in real estate? What's their reason why? Like the real reason why that they can't even tell you because they don't understand how to articulate it. They feel it somewhere, but they don't have words for it. You need to put words to that, and you need to understand that in a way that you can articulate it for them. When you do that, you win every single time. And I mean you win in that they trust you and they will get the results because you know how to do the thing. You know how to help them invest in real estate, but there's some disconnect. They're not doing it, or it's taken them a really long time. When you can understand their world, and listen, it's talking to them, it's surveying them, it's listening to them, it's reading their posts in your Facebook groups and your coaching groups, it's looking at the comments on Amazon if you have a book. What are people stuck on? What do they love? What do they hate? What are they looking at your competition in the marketplace? What are people writing in their Amazon reviews about their books? What do they hate? What are they angry about? What are the misconceptions that they have? What are all of that is just, it's all available for you to go and query and find and research. And then you're going to know who those people are. And now you can show up in a way that shows them, man, you are interested in my problems. You get me. You get me better than I get me. And now I can borrow your confidence in me. Like Jerome, if I'm going to invest in real estate, I don't need my own confidence because confidence comes as a result of doing stuff. I can borrow your confidence because you know how to do it. You've done it before, and I know you got my back because you show me that you've got my back. All of a sudden, your business is going to explode. It's going to explode. And this is all customer experience. This is all customer experience.
I appreciate that. And while you were speaking, two things jumped out to me. So just, I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but what I'm interested in personally is after all of the business stuff, when I first got in business, I was like, I started to enjoy speaking. And I'm like performing, and it led to me thinking like, I want to become an actor one day in the future, like long term. That's like one of my long term goals. I want to be an actor. I want to go perform somewhere on some stage somewhere. And while you were speaking, you were mentioning caring about that customer. And the thing that jumped out to me was practice, right? And a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome. Do I know what I'm talking about? Like you hear that sometimes. And I would like to hear you talk about how do we go from practice and like acting to actually becoming that star or that character or who we need to be for our customer and prospect. And just to give like a little story, like when we watch movies, we believe that that actor is that character sometimes. So I would like to hear your perspective on how do we come from practicing and implementing this stuff to actually becoming who we need to be to serve our customers and give them that customer experience.
Yeah, that's another, man, you are an amazing question asker. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So look, I was blessed. So my coach, my business coach was a man by the name of Dan Sullivan. You may know him, you may have heard of him, strategic coach. I started in his program back in the early 2000s. So it was like 2003, 2004, or something like that. And I was in for 14, 15 years. He always joked, I love slow learners with a lot of money. So I was one of those people, apparently. But, one of the questions that he asked me was this: who do you need to become to get everything in life you want? And it was a pretty profound question. And what I found is that question is not you ask it once and then you have the answer. As you evolve and as we develop, right? We're all going through personal development in some way. They wouldn't be listening to this podcast if they're not trying to improve. They wouldn't be using your courses, my courses, anything, right? We're all in it and we're doing it the same, right? Like I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in masterminds and trainings and other things so that I can keep learning and growing and whatever. The journey never ends. I'm a lifelong learner. Like my identity is one of someone who learns and grows and gets better. So I love that because I never feel like I'm stuck and I have nothing else to do, right? Anyway, when I was asked that question first, like who do I need to become? At first, I needed to become a leader. And then next, I needed to become a coach. And it was about the evolution of where people are going. And so like what I think, you asked a really good question. It's like, how do you get past like that imposter syndrome and start doing the thing and feeling good about it and having that level of confidence there? And, I'm going to give you a Dan Sullivan thing because it's just so relevant. He talks about the idea called the 4 C's. And it's like, you need to have courage to get started. You need to have a commitment to doing it, right? So courage, commitment. Then you need to build capability. You know what you're doing. You have the commitment to doing it. Now you have to build the capabilities. You have to build the muscles, get the skills, the training, the things you need. And then the fourth C is confidence. Confidence comes last. Confidence comes as a result of doing the thing. And so when you're starting out and, like you're as a customer, you're doing your first investment deal, you're not going to have that confidence. When you get through with it, you're still not going to have all of it. You're going to have confidence that you got through it, but you're not going to have confidence necessarily that it's going to pay off, right? So it's going to keep growing. And your confidence is going to come in, I have confidence in this step, and now I have in this step. And confidence builds more confidence, right? And it's okay that they're going to borrow your confidence in the beginning because you're holding that space for them as their coach. It's one of the most noble things I think we can do is to hold space for people that we care about and help them get where they want to go. And so confidence is going to come as a result of that. Where I think the imposter syndrome thing comes in is that we're not enough, that we don't have the credentials or we don't have enough years of experience or whatever. And another mentor of mine by the name of Victoria LaBaume, she's an amazing, amazing woman. She teaches people how to really rock it on stages. She has a program called Rock the Room. It's amazing. She also wrote a book called Risk Forward. Anyway, what she always says to people who are like getting up on stage, or they're having that kind of imposter syndrome, they feel like maybe they're a fraud, or maybe they are not worthy of being up there. She's like, you're focusing on yourself. You're not
Yes.
focusing on them. She's like, shift your focus. If you're on stage and you're feeling stage fright, it's because you're thinking about you. Think about them. If you're a coach and you're worried that people aren't going to like, what do they need right now? Give them what they need. You have that to give them what they need right now. Give it to them. Stop thinking about you. And I think that's what happens. Like, we go inward instead of going outward. And I found it myself. Like, I love speaking on stages. I love doing interviews like this. I love helping and serving. And dude, like, I'm not a real estate investor. I own a couple real estate properties. Like, I've dabbled a little bit. Why should I be talking to a bunch of real estate people? Well, because I know that what I have to teach here is going to help them and help you help them. And so I am totally cool knowing zero about real estate investing. I'd love to learn from you, by the way, but like, I am totally confident in what I do because I've seen it happen. I have enough experience under my belt, but then showing up here, I know, like, when we talk, you're going to ask me questions. I am all focused. All of my energy is towards how do I help the people that are listening to this podcast today? I'm in the present and I want to help you and I want to help your people. And hopefully someday maybe you'll come help my people and we'll go back and forth and we share. And that's what it's about. So if you're one of those people, you're thinking, I may not have what it takes. You may not right now, but you have what it takes to go to the next step. And you have amazing coach in Jerome and his team. Lean into that and focus on what you're doing, not focus on what you're afraid of. That's
Thank you.
We messed that up, all of us.
I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm thinking about a particular client that I was helping that's outside of real estate. And I just gave her the other book, the first one. Since you mentioned
Ben Hardy's a good friend of mine. Yeah, dude. So Ben and Dan collaborated on a trilogy of 3 books, right? So Ben wrote it. That's Dan Sullivan's work. And 10X is easier than 2X is an amazing book. Amazing book. I love it. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I gave away Who Not How, which is I can't remember, but that's my first time encountering his work, and I was like, this is actually a really good book.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this particular woman. She's like, or just people, right? They struggle with the imposter syndrome. I'm like, I'm trying to help people get over this, and I'm like, Jerome, how did you get over that? And what you just said, you just helped me reestablish how I got over it. It's like, this is not really about me. When I start thinking about me and it was me, then I start, am I going to feel imposter syndrome? What if I say and ah? It's like, it's not about me. There's something here and there's a way for me to help people, and I need to set that aside. So I really appreciate you talking about that.
Amen. Totally. 100%, dude. And really, like, we all go there. And even when you know it, like, you know it, I know it, I still got to remind myself of it. And I still find it's just, you build up that muscle over time. And so when you feel it creeping in, it's like, who am I focusing on right now? I got to focus on them.
That's really good. You gave me a tool because I'm going to use that and I'm going to help people get outside of themselves. It's like, you can help someone and you got to get the message out there. So I appreciate that. When you were talking a little bit earlier, you talked so much about, and this is why you're so excellent, and I can see why you crush it, like your bio. You talk about customer research. Nobody wants to do that. Could you talk a little bit more about that customer research? Because that's a part that a lot of people skip out. For example, I work with agents too. They come in and say, anybody that's trying to buy or sell a house. I'm like, that's kind of generic. They can go to Google, they can go to ChatGPT and get that information. So I would like to hear you talk a little bit more about that customer research process, the psychology.
Yeah, 100%. I think what we're all afraid of, if we're being honest, is that if we narrow down who we're going to work with, we might not have enough customers. And so we try and go as broad as we can. And it's like, if you think about doctors, right? The general medical doctor, your family doctor, it's a generalist and they make the least amount of money. The cardiothoracic surgeon who specializes on a certain kind of heart surgery, they make the most money, right? Because they specialize. And you know what? there's not as many people that need that, but they pay a lot more money for it and they get a lot of results. There's enough customers on the planet for you to get smaller with your audience. And so I think a lot of us are afraid. Listen, I'm guilty of it too, like we all are. So it's hard to do that. When you do, which I hope you all start thinking about, who do I want to be a hero to? Who's the best right fit customer for me? You can actually have a conversation through all of your marketing that will land and resonate with that customer. If I'm talking about buying and selling, now you're not talking to anybody because they're either buying or they're selling. They're likely not doing both in that very moment that they're looking for you. Now they may be buying a house and selling a house, so I may be putting my foot in my mouth a little bit, but they're focused. When they're coming to you, they're focused on, I'm gonna buy a house. Like I know my significant other right now is really looking into buying a second home property in a warmer climate. We live in New Jersey, and she wants to have palm trees and beach and be able to go there year round, and I get that. And so she was looking at agents and she was like telling me how frustrated she was. This was like the other day. She's like, this is crazy. She's like, I cannot find anybody that like I feel like they're like my people. She's like, I can't find my person to help me with this. She's like, I live in New Jersey. I don't want to, like, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to, have to, kiss 1,000 frogs before I find my prince, and I'm like, it's hard. Like, and they can't find good people because they're not marketing specifically. Then I heard an interview just the other day with a woman who was, she was a buyer's agent only. She was just a buyer's agent. She didn't list properties. She only worked with buyers. And she built the largest office in her network just by focusing on that and niching down into other people. Another woman that I've heard just these real estate stories in the last month. Another woman focuses only on relocations. She's a relo specialist for corporate people. And she makes a fortune because that's all she does. And the other agents don't want to deal with relos. So she gives them a small commission and they send all the relos to her. So she's got an army of other agents finding her relos that they don't want to deal with and bringing them to her and they get a cut. So it's a powerful thing to figure out how to like niche down. Once you do, then do that research. Like what exactly is going, like if I'm trying to work with people that are relocating, there's a lot of change going on. They're leaving a job that they're used to. They're coming to something new. They're a little unsure. They're making a big commitment to move themselves and their families maybe across the country or to a different country or wherever they're coming from. They don't know about schools. They don't know about neighborhoods. Like they need a whole different level of education than someone that's moving from, 2 miles down the street. You know what I mean? It's a very different animal. So as you start to think about like what's keeping them up at night, where can I provide value? How can I help them? There's a lot of opportunity just understanding that. Then you go in and you do that research. When you start to talk to those people about relos, now you're talking about, oh my gosh, someone's gonna be like, this is the right person. They know the area, they're gonna help me. They're gonna help me find my people, babysitters, like whatever they need. Like this is amazing resource. Heck yeah, I'm gonna work with them. So, and that's true of all different kinds. I'm just using that as an obvious example. But the research, it's talking to people. It's going out there and looking to see what the challenges are. It's finding a network of other services and providers in the area that also can refer back and forth that you can help and build your network in that area, right? Because what do people need? They're moving into a new house. They need painters. They need a handyman. They need babysitters. They need, whatever, landscapers, snow removal, depending on where you live. So you start to like understand all their needs and you put together stuff that adds value to their lives. Boom. So maybe that's not relevant to all the people, but that's just one example of how you start to put the pieces together. And then the research gets deeper when you start to think of what are they really struggling with. A lot of times it might even be that they can't see the vision of what the house can be as theirs, right? So I've seen people actually have an artist come in, they have photos of their furniture, they take a drawing and they show them how they would set up the house with their furniture in somebody else's house. What does that cost? Not a lot for, a massive commission you might get by selling a house, So I don't know, again, this is not my area of expertise in real estate, but I know that if I'm trying to understand what value add I can bring to a customer, I'm going to research the heck out of it. I'm going to know what's going to scare them, keep them up at night. What do they most value? What do they most need? What do they most want? And I'm going to make sure I give it to them.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And just really quickly, so I can wrap us up. Where you mentioned like relocation, like somebody that's relocating from it is different than somebody just buying a house. And the relocation person, they're going to need different resources. Like you said, I might need a babysitter. I might need like a psychological talk about what it's like to move to another location in another town, another place. So that's why it's so important. I think it's so important that you niche, you do your research, and you understand people. I have one client, her name's Shuli, and we wrote a book, and she wrote about like some of what your wife was looking for, like how to move to Palm Beach County, Florida. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's her specialty. That's what she niches in. And she added a bonus chapter inside of her book that talked about specifically moving the children. Nobody talks about that. And I'm like, wow, that's actually really good, thoughtful input.
That's massive, right? If you know that someone's that thoughtful, that's being interested, right? Mm-hmm. Right there. That's an example of being interested. I know what your needs are. I know I can anticipate how I can be of service to you. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that she did that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I want to, this has been like, I can't believe it's been 46 minutes. You shared your gift earlier. Could you tell the gift, could you share the gift? Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us how we can get access to that gift again.
Yeah, I will definitely share it again. I'm not telling anybody about it. You got to trust me on this one.
Okay.
If you think I delivered some value, go get it. It's my trick, right? I'm trying to trick you into going, ethically bribe you into going to this page. I promise you, if you found any value in what I said, this will be 10x that. It's amazing. 10x is easier than 2x, right? So just go to gift.cxformula.com/remarketing, gift.cxformula.com/remarketing, and it's a little present from me and Jerome for you. So hope you grab it. And like I said, please shoot me a note. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't. If you have any questions about it, email me. You'll get me. I will personally respond to you. Like, I'm all in for this. So love to hear what you think.
Jason, I'm trying to be respectful of your time. You got like 5 more minutes.
Yeah. What you got?
Okay. All right. So I want to hear from you. If there was, what's one question you wish I asked you, and how would you have answered?
Ooh, I hate when people ask me that question. That's the pass the buck one right there. Pass the buck. I love it. You asked a lot of really good questions. One of the things I hear a lot from people when it comes to the work that I do, they're like, isn't creating a good experience really expensive? Like, isn't it like I might not be able to afford to, like, I'm just starting out, or I'm struggling right now to, pay all my bills. Like, customer experience, like I said earlier, it's not giving someone gifts. It doesn't have to be, right? It might be. You might decide at some point to give them a gift. The gift I'm giving you guys, it's a PDF. It took me a lot of time to make it. I paid a designer to make it look pretty and all that. But in the grand scheme of things, my hope is that it helps you. And if it does help you, maybe you want to come do some more work with us, and maybe you want to work with us, right? And just in all full disclosure, like, I want to help people, and the way I do that is through our programs and our courses, just like you do the same thing, right? And so we give out as much value as we can, but if you really want to know all the stuff that I can help you do to put a really cohesive system in your business, it's more than I can just kind of give you in random PDFs, right? So we want you to come there. So all that to say, it's customer experience, building a great experience. We call it the Kinetic Customer Formula. We have a formula. And what we do is, when you have a customer, we believe that you have people with potential, right? If we go back to physics class, potential energy is energy at rest, but that has the potential to do work. And kinetic energy is energy in motion. And so when you have prospects, they haven't committed, they're not fully engaged, they are not in motion. We want to help you transform them into engaged customers who rave, return, renew, and recruit, right? And the way that we do that is by creating a kinetic pathway, by removing as much friction as we possibly can, and ultimately by adding some momentum boosters, things that help propel them around. So it's like that water slide. If you have no water on the slide, it's like, I don't really move, right? But if you have a lot of flowing water, all of a sudden you go up, you go down, and you can get, where you want to go. So we think of your kinetic pathway that way. So all that to say, what I really think people need to do is they need to be creative, and you really need to step in those customers' shoes. The best experiences come from being thoughtful. I want to give you an example. This is probably a good closing story for you. And we were asked to work with a restaurant, and we call it Tom's Place to keep it confidential. I've been calling it Tom's Place for years. And this guy owned a restaurant. It was like a small, like local family kind of restaurant, nothing very splashy or fancy, but they were really struggling. Like, people would come in, the food was okay, the service was okay. People just didn't come back a second time unless they were really stuck for options, you know? And so they really wanted to make this better. And so when we went in, we talked to them about, you know, what is it that, you know, like a local area, why do people come back? And the analogy we kept using, I don't know if you remember this TV show Cheers from years ago, and it was like Norm, like when Norm walked in, everybody knew his name, right? And the story was like the place where everybody knows your name.
Yes.
And so he was like, yeah, it's like, I want it to be that way. Like, I want our neighbors to come in here and like we all know their name and it just feels like family, right? And I'm like, it's not like that now, right? He's like, no. I'm like, well, how do we start to make it like that? He's like, dude, I have no money. Like, I don't even know. I'm like, well, let's think about what does it look like when someone comes in and they know you? He's like, well, you know, we seat you at your table. People come back and maybe say, welcome back. And if it's your first time, they kind of you look a little bit like a stranger. They kind of give you maybe like a special appetizer, a little gift from the chef the first time. And then, you know, we invite them back. They know the name of the waiter, waitress. Like, there's really great service. Like, they're coming back and you get to know them a little bit and you invite them back. It's like that. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what do you think it would cost to just, I mean, to me, it sounds like you need more training of your people than anything else. He's like, yeah, it's probably true. He's like, you know, we bring people in, we teach them how to serve, like the food and how to use the point of sale system. We don't really teach them how to interact with people and the way we want them to interact with people. And so we started putting together a little bit of a training, you know, syllabus, if you will. And then we came up with this idea. And so what would happen is when people would come in, they go to the host or hostess station, and the host or hostess would greet them and say, you know, welcome to Tom's Place. Is this your first time dining with us? And if they said yes, the host would turn around. There'd be 2 baskets of silverware on this little table right behind them. And they'd take white napkins with silverware, wrapped around silverware. And if they were returning, they would get the red napkins wrapped around the silverware. And so they would go and they bring the people to the table, and if they would set them down, they put all white napkins on the table. And if they were returning, they'd put all red napkins down. And then the various staff members would come over and be like, if they saw white, they'd be, welcome to Tom's Place, we're so glad to have you. And then the waitress or waiter would kind of come over and finally say, we're so glad to have you. Is this your first time here? Yeah? Well, we want to make sure that this is a great experience for you. So first, I want to make sure there's no allergies. And if you're okay with it, I'd love to bring you a little special gift from the kitchen on us. And have a minute to look at the menu, and then I'll come out and I'll give you some of my favorites. And so just kind of making it that nice place. If it's return and they see the red, they'll be like, they come over and they'll be like, welcome back, guys. It's so great to have you here again. I can go through that. You know, can we give you a little a welcome back gift? Any allergies here? You know, blah, 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 blah. What did you have last time? Anybody have a favorite? You ready for some new ideas for this time? And just interact with them that way. At the very end of the dinner, they would go up to them and say, you know, at Tom's Place, we like to think of this as your dinner table away from home. So on those nights you don't feel like cooking, and you don't feel like cleaning up the kitchen, come here, have a meal with us. We'd love to have you. My name's Steve, in case you forgot it. Here's my business card. You know, if you want, ask to be in my station. You know, I'd love to be your server again next time. But anybody here, you know, will be glad to take care of you. And we hope to see you real soon. And dude, people just started coming back, and they started bringing other families with them because they'd be like, let's go and let's see Steve. We're going to go sit at Steve's section. And then Steve would be like high-fiving them. And all of a sudden, Steve was making more tips and bringing more people back. And the restaurant was making more. The difference, they had a linen service bringing tablecloths and napkins anyway. They just asked for half of them to be red and half of them to be white. And ultimately, they got where they needed mostly red because everyone was coming back over and over and over again. And it was so subtle and such a non-thing, but coupled with the training and the understanding, and then that ideal customer script that we talked about earlier. They wrote, this is your dinner table away from home. I want people to say, you know what, I didn't feel like cleaning up, I didn't feel like cooking, but I wanted to have a family dinner at a place that felt like home. So we went to Tom's Place. That was the ideal customer script. you know? And it doesn't take a lot of money to have people feel really good. It takes a lot of caring and a lot of thinking and a lot of iteration and just constantly making it better. So, you know, hopefully if you're listening to this and you were on the fence about, can I afford this or not, or is it worth it or not? Hopefully that like hits home to you. It's a real story. And it doesn't take a lot to wow people. It just takes a lot of caring, being interested in them, their challenges, their problems, and how you can help them, and giving them little wins all along the way.
That was helpful, and I really appreciate ending the podcast with that story. Thank you so much. Jason, could you tell us how we can learn more about you online?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go over to the website, check it out, cxformula.com. And like I said, take me up on the free gift. It's badass. It's at gift.cxformula.com/remarketing. And Jerome, hopefully we can do this again sometime. This was a whole lot of fun. Time flew. Like I said, you're an amazing interviewer. Your audience is super lucky to have you as their leader. And I hope to learn from you too.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to doing this in the future.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Yeah.